Stormwater runoff is water from precipitation that does not infiltrate the ground. That means instead of being soaked up by roots or seeping through layers of soil and rock until it becomes groundwater, stormwater runoff flows over surfaces and into water bodies untreated. Cece is going to demonstrate how stormwater runoff contributes to water pollution.
I've got a pan laid out, and this pan is actually going to represent a city in Minnesota. So it's got this really hard surface, and that's similar to hard surfaces in cities like streets, sidewalks, parking lots, all those places where when rain hits it, it doesn't really have anywhere to soak into. So to do an example of that, I'm going to take this spray bottle filled with water and pretend that it's raining on our city. Let's see what happens to the water. Check it out. It runs down the hard surface and eventually forms at the bottom. So where it's forming at the bottom here, that's where the water is running down our streets and eventually ending up in a lake or a river in Minnesota. Okay, but now we need to make our city a little bit more real by adding some pollutants. We're going to add two types of pollutants to our city. We're going to add some vegetable oil. It's just canola oil here that I've poured into a jar. And this is going to represent gas and oil that gets into our streets and other liquid pollutants. So I'm just going to drizzle it a little across the top. So you can see it's kind of thick and viscous and is slowly finding its way down to our lakes and rivers, following the path that the rain went just before it. Now we're going to add some little bits of paper to our city. This paper is going to represent trash and other litter that people might throw. Alright, so already this is not looking too good. I see oil running down, getting into our stream and our lake here at the bottom of our city. But let's see what happens if it rains again. Not good. We've got oil and trash now, with a lot more on its way. Alright, now I'm going to take a sponge, go over to the sink, and clean up my tray a little bit to see if there's anything we can do to our city to not get so much oil and trash in our rivers and streams. Find a piece of cloth in your house, or you can also use a sponge. This piece of cloth is going to represent some plants in a park in our city. So I'm just going to lay it down right here, a nice little park in the middle of our city, and we're going to see what effect this has when it rains. So I can see a good amount of water is still getting into our rivers and lakes down here, but maybe not quite as much as last time, because the cloth is also soaking up some of that water. The real question now is, what will happen if I add some oil here in my city streets, and maybe some trash too, and then it rains? What will the park do? What effect will it have on the rivers and lakes at the lowest point in our city?
Great question, Cece. If you guessed that the plants in the park will prevent some of the pollution from reaching water bodies in the city, you guessed correctly. As you may know, the Holland Basin is the lowest point in its neighborhood. During a rainstorm, any water that the storm pipes can't handle makes its way there. The water is held there until the storm pipes can handle more water, and then it makes its way to the Mississippi River. Stormwater picks up pollutants on its journey to the Holland Basin, but by installing native plants, we are creating a green space like the one Cece showed in her demonstration. The native plants will use their extensive root systems to reduce soil erosion and filter out pollutants, which will help keep the Mississippi clean and safe for everyone.